I came home from a recent trip to the library with an armful of books from the art department, from arts and crafts of Morocco to the art of Japanese calligraphy to medieval and Renaissance art and beyond. The books are providing savory fare for my hungry eyes in this season of needing some new sustenance in my practice as an artist, she writes. Today at tea time, my book of choice was Shaker Design, a catalog from an exhibit co-sponsored by the Whitney Museum of American Art and the Corcoran Gallery of Art. June Sprigg, the author of Shaker Design, writes, "The Shakers were not conscious of themselves as designers or artists, as those terms are understood in modern times. But they clearly worked to create a visible world in harmony with their inner life. Simple, excellent, stripped of vanity and excess. Work and worship were not separate in the Shaker world. The line between heaven and earth flickered and danced." And she goes on to write, "I am fascinated by the elegant simplicity that the Shakers brought to the work of their hands. The lines of Shaker Design seem to emerge directly from their sense of what is most essential. Follow the simple curve of a bowl, the uncluttered planes of a cupboard or dresser or table, the weave of a basket, and you can see how it has been created by someone who managed to let go of all that was not necessary. Looking at a Shaker chair, a Japanese tea bowl, an Amish quilt, I wonder, what did their makers have to pare away in order to discover what was essential? How did they find their way to the heart of the matter?" This month, during the time for worship, we'll be able to delve into the spirituality of art with our other guests in the pulpit. Next week, our music director, David Netchus. The Sunday after that, Bill Height, a member of our congregation whose well-kept secret all these many years is that he is a potter. And the final Sunday of the month, we'll have the youth of our congregation witnessing to the power of art as a spiritual practice. My first sermon of 2019 is provoked by the connection between art and beauty. Albert Einstein wrote, "The most beautiful thing we can experience is the mysterious. It is the source of all true art and all science. He to whom this emotion is a stranger, who can no longer pause to wonder and stand wrapped in awe, is as good as dead. His eyes are closed." So when was the last time you allowed beauty to touch your life? Is the mystery of art the heart of the matter? When we attempt to discover the source of creativity, is it only to find that it is and remains mysterious and hidden? Can we tell that artists create art in harmony with their inner life? And can we experience an epiphany if we try to go deeper into awe and mystery? I would say that many of us, when we actually pay attention, appreciate the wonder of creation. Our opening hymn reminds us of many things in our lives we can be grateful for, and the first of these is the beauty of the earth. This morning, I would like to suggest that we can have an epiphany when we think about beauty. How does beauty touch your life? It's a question I was thinking about with particular reference to our children. What is their perception of beauty, and where do they get it from? There are two sayings: beauty is only skin deep, and beauty is in the eye of the beholder, that I think we see in children's stories and films especially. Beauty and the Beast is one film that has been made several times since it was written by a French woman in the 1700s. Belle is the main character, whose name in French, of course, means beauty. She is indeed beautiful. But in the original story, as well as in other versions of the story in film, we could perceive that beauty may just be skin deep, because she comes across, at least to me, as pretty selfish and spoiled. But she does fall in love with the beast, who looks very scary, but was changed into a beast from a regular human being by a sorceress. And when we say beauty is only skin deep, it means that you may look beautiful, but inside you may not be. And we could suggest the opposite, that you may be unattractive according to our society's norms, like the beast, but be beautiful inside. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder means that beauty is subjective. We may each find different things beautiful. And so it's difficult to agree many times on what is beautiful. In the film Shrek, the ogre falls in love with Princess Fiona. He knows that people think he's ugly, but he and Fiona, who is beautiful, develop a friendship that turns into love despite their differences in appearance. And then the big surprise is that their kiss transforms Fiona into the ogre that she is anyway. She has the appearance of a lovely princess by day, but once the sun goes down, she changes back to her true appearance. When she and Shrek kiss, she says that she doesn't understand because she thought she would be transformed and be beautiful. And Shrek answers, "But you are beautiful." So he sees the beauty in her, even if she is not beautiful in the way that we normally think of as beautiful. And in that instant, when Shrek sees the beauty in Fiona, is the instant when mystery comes into play. The eye of the beholder. How is it that we define for ourselves what beauty is? And is define even the correct word? Because that implies some sort of cognitive or categorizing activity. Anjan Chatterjee, in his TED Talk, How Your Brain Decides What is Beautiful, says that until recently we have used logic and speculation to answer the question of how we perceive beauty. But evolutionary psychology and the tools of neuroscience, he says, can now help us better understand that reaction. And he says that symmetry in facial attractiveness and the effect of hormones are just two factors that contribute to our sense of beauty in another person. Our visual brain that is tuned into processing faces interacts, he claims, with our pleasure centers to underpin the experience of beauty. Our brain automatically responds to beauty by linking vision and pleasure. Chatterjee also says that our brains seem to associate beauty and good reflexively. And this reflexive association may be the biological trigger for the many social advantages of beauty. Attractive people receive all kinds of perks in life, he says. They're regarded as more intelligent, more trustworthy. They're given higher pay and lesser punishments, even when such judgments are not warranted. Like I was saying earlier about Beauty and the Beast and Shrek, this stereotype of beauty is probably exploited and magnified by images in popular media, and we should recognize these kinds of implicit biases in our society. A similar scientific claim that infants only hours old will choose to stare at an attractive face rather than an unattractive one comes from the research of Alan Slater, a developmental psychologist at the University of Exeter, who says that humans may have a biologically ingrained preference for beauty. The visual and oral preferences shown by his study of newborns proves to him that attractiveness is not simply in the eye of the beholder. It is in the brain of the newborn infant, right from the moment of birth and possibly prior to birth. Writers in Scientific American determined that the most reasonable evolutionary hypothesis for aesthetic appreciation of art is that the aesthetic system of the brain evolved first for the appraisal of objects of biological importance, including food sources and suitable mates, and was later co-opted for artworks such as paintings and music. Stephen Brown and Xiaoqing Bao conclude that as much as philosophers like to believe our brains contain a specialized system for the appreciation of artwork, research suggests that our brains' responses to a piece of cake and a piece of music are in fact quite similar. Can it be that simple? Academic Dennis Donahue argues that modern society's commitment to science and rational explanation has tended to bleed the arts of their most powerful asset, what he calls their mystery, and has thus rendered them safe and, in an important sense, beside the point. Now, Roger Kimball reviewed Professor Donahue's book, The Arts Without Mystery, which expresses a critical view of modern vanity, which supposes that everything can be known, or that only what is knowable has a claim upon our interest. Donahue first addressed this subject in the 1982 Wreath Lectures, an annual English series of lectures that's broadcast over the BBC. One thing that Kimball points out in his review is that art, as distinct from natural beauty, is an embodied intention. And so we really must experience the epiphany in our own hearts and minds in order to bring close the mystery of art for us. I was reminded of Jan Richardson's question about how artists find their way to the heart of the matter through their creativity, when I read a comment from Gregory Wolfe, the editor of Image Journal. He states that traditional Western ideas about creativity have been undermined, and this has brought about a deep cultural impoverishment. The thesis on the future of art in philosopher George Hegel's Lectures on Aesthetics acknowledges that humankind had traditionally considered art to reveal the deepest interests of humanity and the most comprehensive truths of the mind. But he also believes, like Donahue, that the rational shape of our culture today has made it increasingly difficult to take art's claim to such truth seriously. He says, thought and reflection have overtaken the fine arts. And so, thinking again about Einstein's declaration that anyone who does not allow beauty to touch their life is as good as dead, perhaps that person simply has not had the opportunity to experience art that could move them to awe and wonder. Maybe, as with the epiphany of finding beauty in an orange, that person would first need to seek out places where beauty might be hiding, not only in visual art, but in music, poetry, sculpture, and pottery, cooking, even perfumes and scents and essential oils that transport us beyond ourselves when we experience their essence. Art that employs the senses besides vision, taking us into the pleasures of touch, smell, taste, hearing. But even as morose as we know them to be, German philosophers are the gift that keeps on giving here on this subject. Besides Einstein and Hegel, Schopenhauer and Nietzsche both value the existential and some might say spiritual function of art, of dwelling in its mystery. Writer Clark Augier says that Arthur Schopenhauer believes that we can find sanctuary in art and in music from the struggles that we encounter through life. Friedrich Nietzsche would go even further to tell us to make every moment that we experience a piece of art, so that we may always accept and appreciate each second that we are fortunate enough to experience. In this way, we are the artists when we are in harmony with our inner life. We ourselves can create and touch beauty. Let us reflect on that possibility as we rise in body and spirit to sing our closing hymn, number 57, All Beautiful the March of Days.